Welcome back, guys. Middle of the week. Hope your week's been going well. And you know what's really amazing, astonishing? How these certain types of English, these Western voice actors, manage to find the worst things to say over and over again. If you saw yesterday's video, you know that the second part of that video was going over a number of these voice actors and how over on their Blue Sky accounts, they're essentially advocating for harassment, and some would argue also implications of violence towards those who go against the SAG-AFTRA union. And now we've got another astonishing take from a VA, that one being Kaylee Mills once again. So thank you, Sandwich Dog, for the tag. Here, hey, cover this too if you're making a new vid. I know it's a lot of dumb stuff, but yes. And yeah, this is definitely worth taking a look at. So we have a tweet from Princess OXOX, and the tweet is basically talking about how messed up these Genshin English VAs are, as well as their massive amounts of hypocrisy, how they'll say terrible things about Jacob Takanashi, harassing him, advocating for others to harass him, etc., but then defend people in their clique, and of course being really quick to also turn around and falsely play victim. Princess OX including this screenshot of a tweet from Kaylee Mills from just yesterday on April 1st, and presumably going on to further insult Jacob Takanashi while defending Karina the VA for Paimon, who many people have pointed out is a hypocrite for continuing to work on Genshin Impact, and therefore also crossing the picket line and being a scab according to the Union VA's own definitions for these things, but they conveniently shift the goalposts and defend Karina while going after Jacob. So Kaylee Mills then says this in the screenshot. "This is one small job for him, not his full-time work. It's Karina's bread and butter. He's done very little VO work, so it isn't what he's relying on to pay the bills. For all we know, his wife's the breadwinner. Either way, they bought a house recently, so I doubt it was a necessary job for survival." This is such an awful look. I can't believe Kaylee is out here making tweets like this. I mean, I can because this is consistent to the sort of tweets that Kaylee and other VAs, a part of SAG-AFTRA, have been making, and not just SAG-AFTRA VAs, but also their supporters. How tone-deaf do you have to be to make a tweet like this? Like, what an insane thing to say. Now, some important additional information. In the full screenshot by Princess OX, you can see that Kaylee got a response from this Noe person that says, "It's all good. I like your work generally. However, I think that talking very deliberately about a colleague's financial situation in a public way is not something that looks good." The reason this is important is because it looks like Kaylee has actually deleted that tweet, presumably after getting backlash for it. And the reason we took a look at that tweet from Noe, or however you say their name, my bad if that's not correct, is because we can search that tweet and indeed see that tweet was responding to a tweet that's now deleted, which is, of course, most likely to be Kaylee Mills' tweet, the one that we just went over. Further backing that up is that Kaylee Mills responded to Noe, saying, "I'm basing this off a public post someone else reposted. I know nothing about his personal situation that isn't 100% public." Other people would then respond to Kaylee, saying things like, "So he might actually have personal financial issues that he hasn't made public, which you don't know about. An action is judged by its results, but judging people by their actions without complete, accurate, up-to-date info about their reasoning seems irresponsible to me. And it's just very unprofessional and toxic behavior. In my opinion, it's also just absolutely pathetic behavior. These are grown adults acting like this. It's a freaking joke." Even more so because it's been like an entire group of people backed by one of the most powerful unions, all going after one single dude, one individual, Jacob Takanashi. What they didn't account for was that the internet would see through their agenda. We'll very briefly take a look at a few more responses. This one reading, "Disgusting behavior. Well, now it's out there in the open for all to see. Classic #1 trait of a narcissistic person. Please seek help." This is such a loser behavior. Oh no. Small job? He has 2 kids, you disgusting freak. He has a family to care for, and you English VAs are reigning on your high horses. The audacity to judge someone's life as if you're some kind of god. Manipulation, gaslighting, stalking, false accusation, harassment. What, crimes next? I mean, based off some of the stuff we were seeing being said over on Blue Sky, that's might not be too far off, really. Alright, so we're going to move on from that part of the video. Let me know what you think about all that Kaylee Mills stuff in the comments. And now we actually have a little bit of an update to go over regarding the VA for Paimon. Yep. You see, there was this post from 15 hours ago on our Genshin Impact titled, "I talked to Paimon's VA." Now, as you can see, the person who made the post ended up deleting the whole thing. However, thanks to the user Jinxed and Cursed, we can still see allegedly what the post had read. Jinxed and Cursed saying, "Yeah, I'm predicting this one is going to be nuked soon. It should still be prime time in California right now, so I'm going to mirror prematurely." Now, to be quite frank, some of this stuff is a little bit boring and wordy, and it's not as interesting to take a look at given how the OP and the screenshots are deleted. So I'm going to kind of skip through to what seems to be the most interesting points, or parts rather. And we'll begin here, where the OP had said, "What is your personal opinion on the situation? Is there anything you would like to say to the community?" Karina's alleged response reading, "I'm very well aware that the Genshin community hates me. That's fine. They're entitled to have that opinion. But they cannot claim to be supportive of actors if all of the actors, both non-union and union, want the game to be union." The OP making this personal note that reads, "This claim has no evidence. Only the actors outspoken have been in staunch support from what we know." Karina allegedly going on to say, "And they are screaming and talking over actors. They cannot claim to be against AI if they are against the SAG video game strike." The OP then saying another personal note, "Most people on here seem to be against SAG's tactics during the strike, not the strike itself." Back to Karina. "They don't have to like everything about SAG, but SAG is the only true way we are protected." So yeah, in my opinion, it's a ridiculous claim to say that you cannot be against AI if you don't support SAG's video game strike. Obviously, people can be against voice actors or anyone having their voice ripped and used for AI without their consent. That doesn't therefore mean that you're obligated to support SAG-AFTRA's video game strike specifically, especially with all the various problems it has with it, and how corrupt it all seems and how toxic these VA members have been. And lastly, this was also really interesting. So there was a post titled, "Paimon's English VA Karina says the entire Genshin voice cast wasn't paid for an entire year. Unfortunately, this also hit with that message, post is awaiting moderator approval, so perhaps this was mass reported or whatever's been going on." The good news is, if you type this into Google, you can actually see the post apparently pop up right here, which reads, "According to one of Karina's comments in the TikTok posted here, there was a period in the past where every single voice actor, regardless if in a union, working on Genshin Impact, wasn't paid for an entire year, seemingly only because the game was a non-union project," which doesn't make sense. We can see top responses reading, "If the whole cast wasn't paid for over 1 year, I feel like more people would have spoken about it, unless they think Paimon counts as the whole cast. Unless there was some sort of NDA in place. Yeah, there's no way we wouldn't have heard about it. They raised hell over one guy getting recast. If they were going unpaid, the entire planet would know. Unpaid for a year." Karina spoke up about it publicly during the incident we all know where Karina had to be transferred to a different studio. No NDAs broken there. Doesn't logically make sense. And NDAs are not enforceable if a crime was committed, which not getting paid for a year counts. For real, Genshin has a cast of over 90 characters and countless NPCs and quest characters. There's a 0% chance not a single person got paid and everyone just kept quiet for a year. As we know, these VAs are not under any kind of contract with Hoyo, as past few days show how relaxed they are talking smack about their employers. This is quite literally impossible. I don't know what she's smoking, thinking this was going to convince anyone. Yeah, sure, the people who won't stop screeching over a Japanese dude voicing a Genshin character would surely keep quiet about not getting paid for over a year. They made a huge fuss about Natlon, but couldn't bother complaining about their pay? LMAO. I think that's referencing the old, Natlon, Genshin boycott thing that many of the VAs were publicly supporting and completely failed and went nowhere. And lastly, this one. It's actually impressive how hard she's trying to get fired. In-person response just saying, hoping she succeeds. You know what? One more. This is interesting. Says, "The only thing I could find is Brandon Winkler, voice of Kazuha's friend, and Karina were not receiving payments on time from Formosa. It is unknown if it extended to the whole cast for an entire year. Brandon Winkler said it was 4+ months. They did request for Genshin to turn into a union game at that time though, but this looks to be mostly a Formosa problem and maybe some other studios." How deranged is Karina really? I'm actually shocked. I'm speechless. How can a person be this out of touch? That's obviously the fault of Formosa and not Hoyo. Yet they go out of their way to blame Hoyo? Lock Karina up now before they start throwing out even more serious allegations and fabrications. And furthermore, apparently it was actually Hoyoverse that helped Karina settle this entire matter with Formosa. Anyways, I'll leave it there, and my apologies if this video was a bit rushed. It is now super late in the day, far later than I would have liked to have uploaded this, but I had some stuff happen earlier, and now I'm really low on time. But let me know what you think about the Kaylee Mills stuff and the Karina stuff, and if you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing. Appreciate ya, and I'll see you in the next one.